Wow. What's up, guys? So yeah, it's been a little bit. It's been about 2 months since I've recorded, and shame on me. Like legit, like really bad for me to not stay up to date with this. So want to update you guys on a little bit of stuff. So yeah, I kind of traveled a little bit. I was went to Wisconsin, then I went to where did I go to? Oh, I went to Baltimore, then I went to Florida, and then some like unfortunate things, like my mom ended up having a stroke, and like, gosh, so I don't say that to like, I just want, well, I say that just to let you guys know because they're not excuses. They're legit stuff. Like, legit could not. I was gone like week after week after week. And then, yeah, that happened with my mom. She's doing great now. They're still trying to figure out what's going on with her. But wanted to update you guys on just a little bit of why I've been gone. So, yeah, but now I'm back and I'm more motivated than ever. And I say that, but let me be real a little bit. So like in my last video, I did say I think I started off and I was like, man, I just like couldn't go to sleep. Like it was like, it's 3:20 a.m., but I was like, I just got to get this out. Well, it is 4:47. Probably won't be able to see, I don't know if it's going to zoom in on that or be clear. But yeah, it's 4:47 a.m. in the morning. One thing that I am realizing though, I do kind of like it when I'm like recording at night, just because of like the vibes. Oh my gosh, the vibes. So, you might see that there's a Stavachi sign. And I just want to thank Jess, my girlfriend, for like, I didn't even like ask for this. I think she knew that I was looking at one like way back. And I was like, man, I just don't have the money to, really get that. And my girl, like, she found one that like wasn't too crazy expensive. So I will leave this in the description of like where she got it. I gotta like ask her first, but I will find it, put it in the description, and let you guys know, because it is like, I mean, you guys can kind of see like it's so dope. Like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. So thank you so much, Jess, for that. And I feel like it brings like a even more of a vibe to like this video. And this is my first video having the Savachi sign on here, and I'm like, oh, let's go. Like, I'm so excited. But back to like tonight, guys, keep me accountable. And this is, I'm gonna share this actually. It's so good to have people in your life that keep you accountable for things, because I've been like, the last like week and a half, 2 weeks, I'm like, okay, I need to get back to like making my podcast videos. It's been way too long. And like I want to, there's so many things I want to do. And so tonight, before my roommate Jonathan went to bed, I like went over, I was like, yo, dude, like, keep me accountable in the morning. Ask me if I like recorded uh this podcast video. And because I know he's gonna like, he's gonna ask me. And so I'm like in my bed, and I'm like in and out of like sleep. And then it was like one of those things where I'm like, I do not want to wake up and him ask me. And then I'm like, oh, dude, like, yeah, I was just tired, because we all know how that goes over and stuff. And I'm like, I need to go after this. And like, I am excited about this. So it's like, it's a win-win. And my whole thing about this is to like share my story, to inspire you guys and to encourage you guys and give you guys like maybe a different like perspective on certain things, or like, or just to like give you that confidence to go after certain things that you're thinking of in your life. And as well, like I said, like, I want to have people on this podcast right when I get done sharing a little bit of my, like, not a little bit, it's been a lot, but my path of to, where I am now. Then I want to bring on people. And so yeah, I have, man, like, the list is growing and I love it, and I'm so excited to have people on here. So real quick though, okay, you gotta let me know in the comments, or like, how you guys feel about the vibe. So I got the red, right? I got red right now, but in my other videos I've had blue. Now I already have blue on right now, but I'm gonna change it to blue now. Let's see. Let's get to blue. All right, there we go. So I'm gonna change it to blue now. But let me know, like, did you like the vibe? I mean, if you're listening to this in the car, you're like, this means nothing to me. But for those that are visually watching this on YouTube or wherever I post it, did you like the red vibe, the full red vibe, or did you like the, you know, this vibe? So, anyways, let's jump right into it. So, where we left off in the last video, I had parked, right? I had parked and just really talked about like what I had gone through with my mom and just, even like losing my friend. Um, and like, yeah, pretty tough, podcast. Like I was just like listening to it again. And I'm like, man, like it's hard, like remembering and kind of reminiscing on that stuff, but it's so good to always remember like, man, like that's like, I remember when I was in that rut, and I know I'm gonna be in it again. Like I was in it like recently, like when my mom, like when I was hanging out in the living room, like 3-4 weeks ago or whatever, with late at night, or not late at night, but it was like 9 p.m. and it was me, Jonathan, and Jess, and we're like watching like TV, and all of a sudden I get a text from my little sister, and my little sister like literally, like it would be so traumatizing for me, but my mom's at the foot of the bed and my sister's like trying to speak to her and she's not responding, and she's literally having a seizure, and or a stroke, and yeah, same thing. But and I just like it, like to find out. And then the thing that was also tough is that my dad, I remember FaceTiming my dad. So like for me, I don't, for the most part, I don't like break, if it, like, especially with family matters, I don't break until my dad breaks. And I might have shared that in my last podcast, I can't remember. But my dad, like, he was fine. I mean, like, everything, like, it was, as the texts were coming in, I was like starting to like get a little bit overwhelmed, and then it's kind of like I'm so far away from them. And I do love that I spread my wings, like years ago, and I'm doing my own thing. I love that. I love being able to do that. But when times like this happen, it sucks, because I'm like, I just want to be with my family. Like I want to be there for my mom. I want to be there taking care of her. What do you need? Blah, blah, blah. And so it was tough, like seeing her, or like hearing that, like, of all these things going on. And then my dad FaceTimes me, because I'm like hitting him up like, yo, what's going on? And finally he FaceTimes me, and like he's fine for the first little bit, but then all of a sudden I start, like, when he realized on the, like, I'm talking to him, and then they're not letting him go into the hospital because of COVID protocols. So he literally is losing his mind because he like can't be with his wife. And it was scary for all of us, because it's like one of those things, if my mom had passed, no one would have been able to like see her in her last moments. Like she was alone for 3 days in that hospital because of no one's allowed to be in there. Because of COVID. And I was just like, this sucks. And so when I saw my dad like starting to break, I like, gosh, I was I like left and came into my room, and I like closed the door, and I was on FaceTime with my dad, and then like my dad's like, he's just like all spacey, and then he's like, I gotta go. And then like that's when I broke. And I'm literally on my knees just bawling my eyes out like again. So yeah, that happened. But like I said, things are looking good, and but kind of parked right before, or the last video. But what I really need to be doing is kind of going back to where 2 videos ago, where I like kind of ended with like, did I quit my job? What all happened with that? And that's where we're gonna start. So yes, buckle up, because it's a lot more of a we're gonna start off a little bit rough, but then like it's gonna go up. Okay, we're gonna go up. So I guess I could start. Yeah, I guess I could start with the last video, of where, like, so all those things happened with my mom, right? And then, oh my gosh, if I actually had shared this like in my last video, like Oh, bad on me. But I'm pretty sure I didn't. But anyways, after like my friend had passed away, and I'm like trying to get new friends, here in Chicago, and really building those relationships. I remember listing all those people off that like really were an impact in my life. Um, I get a call, and my mom, from my dad, and like he's like, "Hey son, pray for your mom. Like pray, like you're like a bunch of people just broke into the house, and your mom's upstairs in the closet, like all by herself." And this is like months, like a few months after my mom had her heart attack. So I'm like, first of all, I'm freaking out because like I'm having all these movie scenes flashing in my head of what's gonna happen with my mom, and so basically it was my mom's like getting dressed, and we have like family friends like that come over all the time. If you know our family, if you know like our culture, if you know our church, like that people are always over hanging out. And obviously this is pre-COVID time, so but yeah, my mom hears a knock, a pretty loud knock, and one of the people that like always comes over, and there's this video, I may put it up on here, I may not, I don't know. But okay, so Wendell, like my dad's best friend, actually my middle name is JW, and it stands for John Wendell, and John and Wendell were both of my dad's best friends in college. So kind of cool how he was able to finagle his way with putting that with my middle name. But Wendell is still like super close with our family, and he has a son named Oliver. And what Oliver will do is Oliver will literally like he'll come up and he'll ring the doorbell a bunch of times, or he'll knock on the door really loud, and Wendell will do the exact same. So clearly the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right? So big like knock on the door, and my mom thinks it's like a family friend, and like, or that it's like Wendell or someone, and so she's like getting dressed really quick, and then she like goes to peek out like the window to see who's out there, and there's like like 5 to 6 guys in all black that like get out of the car, and they surround the house, and then they break in the window, and in moments my mom's like, just all this is happening all at once. And so as they break the downstairs window, and my mom like goes into her closet, which is upstairs. She closes the door, and she's like curled up, and she calls 911. Luckily, by the grace of God, there was like cops near the because our house is near the entrance, so like there's cops not too far from where like they were, and so like the sirens immediately hit up, and so then like all the the people that had intruded in like dipped as quick. And so as my mom explained it, as the cops came around the cul-de-sac, the guys got away. But I was just like, man, like again, like I'm just glad, like when I think about the whole situation, I'm just glad that my mom didn't have like another heart attack in that moment, because I mean, any of us could if that was happening. Like I can't even fathom and think about like someone breaking into like you don't really like think about people like actually breaking into your house, but let alone like you're in the house as well. Like that's just crazy. And like our part of the neighborhood is a really nice like neighborhood, so like it just was, oh my goodness, it's just crazy. So anyways, I'm like needing a breakthrough. I'm really needing a breakthrough. Our family's needing a breakthrough. And so did I quit my job? So here's the thing that I really want to, as we kind of get into like encouraging you guys and like kind of helping you guys out with as you're going after your career paths and stuff. Having good relationships in the company are so valuable. Like building great relationships goes such a long way when things are difficult or when things are good or whatever it is. Like you just always you don't want to burn bridges. So I built a really great relationship with my boss. He was the one that hired me, and I remember I was working at a real estate investment firm right out of the program that I had gotten out to. So just to kind of catch you guys up, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about and haven't watched The last two videos, go watch that before you watch this one. But yeah, so anyways, I like he's like every day. Well, it got to a point where I was like, man, I was asking like, hey, can I do like drone videos like of our facilities, or in different the states that we have, or can I do this, or can I start taking photos? And they were just like, we're not like, that's not where our money is wanting to go. And my goodness, it blows my mind. Like for the companies that are like going after and getting, like they're working on their social media or their marketing or their video marketing, like they're the ones that are going to be winning the game. Like it blows my mind that there's still companies today that like that clearly can use that and just don't, and they have such an old mindset about stuff. And then you have guys like me, they're like, yo, you need this. We've been, like, we know this industry, especially now, right, of where I am now. But like even back then, I'm like, guys, like this is something that we should like be doing. But that just wasn't the vibe, wasn't what they were looking for. They're like, maybe in the far future or whatever. So I'm very quickly realizing like I'm just doing spreadsheets, doing a bunch of like just numbers and all this stuff, which is fine. Like, it was good to be able to get that under my belt, understand, learn all that. And we were in meetings like, oh my gosh, like all day, every day, like, um, and so like meetings that like there was so like executive stuff like that. I was just kind of like, man, like this doesn't really have too much to do with me at the moment. And I very quickly realized I don't think I want to do this long term. And so what I started to do is I'm like, okay, you know what? Like I'm gonna work my behind off. I'm gonna work my tail off. But I'm gonna work so hard and so quick that like I can do other work. So I would get I would get projects done like so quickly. I would get there early, I would stay late, like I would get stuff done, and then I would start working on like creative stuff, video stuff, photo stuff, like all that kind of stuff. I would leave the office and I would be out in the city. So the company was out in the city. I would stay out in the city till like midnight taking photos or taking videos and just creating content, because like that's where my passion was going. Well, my boss started to see that. He's like, so finally he brings me into the like, he was like, hey, can we meet or whatever? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So he's like, hey man, like you're doing a really great job, but he's like, I just want to ask you, like, do you see yourself working here long term? And I was like, man, like these are the moments where it's like, it's okay to like just be real. Like if that's not what you want to do full time, if you know that your heart isn't there, if you're not waking up every day excited about, now there are times where you gotta make money to put food on the table for your family or for yourself. Like that's, yes. But like if you are maybe in a spot where you do have the ability to like go after something else, or you're like, man, like I don't want to get stuck in this for too long, then like 100% trust in God and go for it. And so I remember like I was like, honestly, like I don't. And he's like, yeah, I kind of got that vibe. Like I can see that your passions, like you're wanting to do a lot of stuff even for us that like we're just not ready to do. And he's like, look, you can continue to work with us, but if you do want to go and pursue your passions, like we'll give you $5,000 to go and pursue that. And I'm like, whoa, like, so I took the opportunity. I'm like, what company just like gives you $5,000 to pursue what you want to do? And so I mean, I did kind of think about it for a little bit, but then I'm like, okay, I'm definitely going after this. And what's crazy is that like so after I made that decision, I was actually living in, I was making pretty decent money with them, like more than I thought I'd ever make at that, at that age. And so I'm like, man, like what? Like I'm living in a little bit of a bougie place right now, and I know that this $5,000 is gonna run out. Like I think man, individually it was like me and two of my other roommates, Josiah, Graham, shout out to those guys. But we were paying like full, like after like with like everything with electricity and all that stuff, like I think it was around like 800, maybe close to 900, something like that per person. We were living in a bougie place. Like my family came and they're like, this is like a hotel. Like we had our own movie theater, we had our own little community like inside, like the the walls, like you could look it up. It was Wheaton 121. I've heard that like they've kind of gone down in like their what they've just of what they've kind of renovated, and oh man, like so shame on them. They got a new manager or whatever. But before it was like amazing. I haven't actually seen it, so I don't really know. But recently, but it had this like kind of rectangle, maybe kind of like a rectangle, but then like inside it was like bag, like you could play bags. There was a pool area. There was where like all the people that were in the inside could like be out there and just have this like community feel. There was like lounge area. There was cookout. It was like amazing. Anyways, getting off of that, it was bougie. So I'm like, I know for a fact that like this $5,000 is gonna go out quickly, and I got to figure things out now. What did I do? Well, I went to Instagram, and for those of you that know and follow me on Instagram, there was a good bit of time where I was like I was posting almost every single day. I actually, it's really cool. Like when you really go after and you're like reaching out to people on Instagram, you can make a business. Like, and that's honestly where everything kind of took flight. And so I was like working my tail off day in and day out. Like I was just like waking up, working late at night, working. And I want to shout out to my boy Josiah, because him and I, like Graham, like worked. He didn't work from home, but Josiah and I like worked. We were always at home, like working, and so he'd be doing calls like for his like financial stuff that he was doing, and but like him and I were like just like grinding it out, and it was really cool to see where we are. It's really cool to see where we're at now and where we're headed, and remember where we used to be. But yeah, like I'm just like hitting up people on Instagram and reaching out to people and trying to get gigs. And the more that my name started to get out there, my followers started to grow, the brands that I was able to start working with started to grow, and the moolah started to grow. And I remember, so where it really like kicked off, and it was like the coolest moment of my life. I was like, this is insane, guys. I'm gonna pop up some videos and like as I'm sharing some of this in a little bit, because it's kind of crazy what like corresponded. But I went from like just a few little gigs here and there that was maybe bringing in like $100 like for a gig, and then I worked with Asics, the shoe company, and did a project for them. Can't disclose what I did because like under the contract or whatever, but did that with them, and that was like a good amount of money for what I did with them. And so I did such a good job with them that the Golden Globes, it was a Thursday night. I will never forget. It was a Thursday night. And the Asics thing was huge too. I'm like, I can't even believe I'm doing this. Like, that's awesome. And like another agency had reached out through them. Like, I was just like, this is cool. So then, like, late Thursday night, I get an email from the Golden Globes, and they're like, hey, Steven, we're reaching out on behalf of they had reached out to Asics, and they're like, who did this for you? And they're like, oh, this guy named Stavachi. So they reached out to me, and I'm like, I'm jumping up, I'm like going crazy, I'm running around, I'm like, I can't believe the Golden Globes have reached out to me, like this is insane. And so then I'm like, okay, so I kind of gather my emotions, and I'm like sitting there, and so this is when I realized what I had tapped into. Like this industry, like these companies have, first of all, these companies know that video marketing, how valuable it is. Like, this is where I really understood my worth. This is where I started to understand my worth, at least. Because before, I really didn't know, like, what, like, my worth was when it comes to video. But good companies and companies that are doing it right know what to pay, like, their videographers, know what to pay the people in the marketing team, know what to pay, like just this realm of the company. And I say that to kind of help you guys out on what I'm about to share, because I'm like, okay, well, what do you guys need? They're like, well, we need a like 10-second, 15-second video or photo that like moves, because I was doing motion graphic stuff back then, and I still do it a little bit now, dabble in a little bit of it, but not as much, just because like the company I work for, like I know like, yeah, I just like they're not asking for it and stuff. So anyways, but I like, so I go, okay, well, when do you guys need this? And they're like, oh, we need it by noon in the morning. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, that's kind of like, that's crazy. So I work on this project for, and it like, it didn't take me very long at all, like, to get what they wanted. But to them, I had gotten so efficient and so good at what I was doing that, like, for other people that it may take, like, hours upon hours upon hours, it took me, like, an hour to create what they wanted. Um, so I'm like, all right, yeah, that's gonna be $600, like in the email form. But like, if they heard my tone, I'm like, $600, like, is that like? And they're like, all right, sounds good. And I'm like, oh, I should have said like 1,500. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, like, so technically $600 per hour was kind of like what that was kind of like. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I just happen to? Like, this is insane. And coolest moment, like, just, oh, it was so awesome. But anyways, what I ended up realizing that was kind of difficult though with some of the agencies is that they don't pay you until 6 months. Well, a lot of their policies, don't know if it's changed now, but for what I was dealing with, a lot of their policies is they don't pay you until 6 months after the project's done. So for instance, yes, it was 600 for an hour of work. Could have done a lot more. The big companies, like, they know what it brings in, so they're like, all right, sounds good. Like, 600 isn't anything. But I don't get that 600 for a little bit. And that obviously, like, by that point, I'm like, dang, like, I'm kind of struggling to pay my rent, So I realized, okay, that's not exactly, like, I need to figure out, like, a different like, something else while I'm still doing that, but, like, something else to bring in consistent residual money. But I was going after it in my motion graphic. Like, I ended up being ranked, like, number 2 to 3 motion artists in this specific field in the world, to the point where, like, the CEO of want to shout out, because I'm not going to just talk about them and then not shout them out, because they're awesome. They're amazing. CEO of Plotograph. If many of you guys had followed my journey during that time, so that's lit, and you guys kind of know what I'm going to talk about. But if you haven't, or maybe you like kind of knew what I was doing, there's actually a lot of people who are like, you went to, I'm not even going to say it yet. But I'm like, yeah, like, I was there for a month and a half. And they're like, what? So anyways, I'm working super hard day and night, teaching myself the software. Like, that's just what I do. Like, everything photography wise, everything videography wise, everything like motion graphic, like all of that kind of stuff, I'm self-taught. Like, I just like went to YouTube and just learned it. And I would say that is like, and then you just go out and do it. And that's like, I feel like that's the best way to do it. And then as you start to really get in it and realize it's your passion, then it's like, okay, now like start getting some like, maybe a little bit of schooling or a little bit of like classes to really take yourself deeper. But anyways, so the CEO of the software that I was using saw my work and was like blown away by it, to the point where he's like, hey, would you want to do some projects for us? So then I'm starting to do projects for them. They're stationed out in they're stationed out in Maui. I can't remember if they were like in a specific spot and then they moved out to Maui. I can't remember, but anyways, so yeah, that was insane. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is really cool. So I started doing gigs for them, but still it was like, okay, I want a little bit of residual. Well, anyways, Graham, my roommate, once again, this is why, like, a lot of people find themselves in a job because of like word of mouth. And so here I am, like, doing really big stuff. But Graham's like, hey, dude, I know your situation, like, and I know that, like, it might take a little bit hit to your, just like what you're doing and what you used to be doing. But, like, I just got promoted at my job, True Lacrosse, like the company I'm still working for, and so he's like, if I just got promoted, if you want to come in and like just kind of like work like as an admin and then make some residual money while you're doing this on the side. And I'm like, yeah, like dude, like that's huge. Like thank you so much. Like okay, so the video got stopped, so gotta start up again. So anyways, I get the job, like interviewed, got the job, and then oh my gosh, the first day on the job, like literally the first day on the job, I get a call from the CEO of Plotograph out in Maui, and he's like, "Hey, Steven, what are you up to right now?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm actually like." He's like, "Do you have a moment?" I'm like, "Yeah, like I got like a moment or whatever." And I had just walked, like I had just walked into like the office, and he goes, "So we know that you've been working with us like on side projects for a while, and we really love your work, and we would really love you to, um, work with us full time." And they were gonna pay me 80 grand and live out in Maui. And I was like, and he's like, and he gets like the whole team. So he's like, all right, let me change. Well, when I told him like, yeah, I'm free, he's like, here's the rest of like he basically got the rest of the team, and they all kind of like came in, and I was oh my gosh, like when he told me that, and I'm like, oh dude, this sucks because one, I try my best to be a man of my word, and the last thing I want to do was like Graham stuck his neck out there for me to get me this job, and like and his bosses were like, well, my bosses now, but like at the time they're like, is this guy really like legit? Like, is he gonna help out? Like, is he, like. And so they took his word for it. And so the last thing I want to do is like just dip out on my boy, and then on top of that, I'm like, if I move out to Maui, like I gotta give up everything. I still got a lease. Like obviously, like that would I'd be able to pay for it, but I'm like, I have relationships here. I'm not too crazy far from my family. Like this is a really big decision, and I literally like. So some of you might be like, "What were you thinking, Steven?" And to be honest, sometimes I'm like, yeah, what was I thinking? But at other times I'm like, no, I think that really shaped my character because money isn't everything, right? And I really do deem relationships as like even more important because as you continue to work hard, as you continue to build relationships, like the money will come, but it's like, you know, you don't want to have a bunch of money and like the company was great, like the people were great, but like I would be leaving hundreds of my relationships that like I've built in Indiana, built in Chicago, built like in the Midwest. So anyways, so I was like, hey, like I'm so sorry. I literally just started my job today. I wouldn't be able to do that. And they were like, I can't believe that they were this understanding. They're like, no, no worries at all. No worries at all. Like, and they're like, we'll keep it on the table, in case like you change your mind or whatever. And I was like, I appreciate that so much. And they go, okay, well, how about this? Instead of you like working like, full time for us, would you like to come out here for pretty much 2 months and we'll do a documentary on you. We'll like, you can have your own TV show like on our platform, which has millions of people on it. Like, and I'm just like, what? And everything was paid for. I like was staying in this amazing, matter of fact, if I haven't already started to show the videos have been going, or if not, then I'm starting them now. But like with just some of the experience. And when I tell you it was some people like can't even like never get to go to Maui. Some people go to Maui for maybe a week, 2 weeks on like being able to just do all the kinds of fun things. I was there for almost 2 months doing just all kinds of things, and it was just so cool. There's one like really cool moment where I was able to like speak about my faith on the platform and really like just not shy away from that. And there was a picture of me in the ocean praying, and they like made it a challenge for everyone to like animate it, and it was really cool, and it got sent to like millions of people on their platform. Just such a cool experience. like will never like forget what those people did for me. Like love them to death. Like I'm gonna have a link to Politigraph, like their Instagram, like all that stuff, just to show appreciation to them because, yeah, like who does that? Like that's so cool. So yeah, they're just an amazing group of people. So I just wanted to shout them out a little bit, but also tell you like that's what happened. And then I was able to come back and like I share that because one, you follow your heart, truly follow your heart, and things will happen, and you just have to have faith that it will, and trust in God that like okay, like I don't know how this is gonna end up, but I'm just gonna go after it, and so yeah, that was amazing. And then I realized when I had like 2 weeks in though, before I even had gone on the trip, right, kind of backing up a little bit, when I got to the company's called True Lacrosse, and I've already mentioned them. I'm actually gonna have a video. I'm gonna share. I did a video for them, like a motivational like video for all the families and kids. I'm actually gonna put that up here on this platform after these series are done, just as like a like, it has the same kind of like feel of these podcasts, and I just want to share it, with you guys, anyways. But, yeah, it was just like I got 2 weeks in, and I'm like, you guys, the social media, and like I'm not like bashing them because they know how bad it was. So I'm not like saying anything that I wouldn't say to them or anything that they didn't know, but their social media was horrible. Like all the videos were blurry, all the photos were like blurry, like the content was just horrible. And like this company's pretty big, and I'm like, okay, hold up. What am I sitting on here? I could really help them out. I could really bring some like they they're in like I think at the time maybe 13, 14 different states, and they had no national presence on social media, and like and they're even like the True Illinois like True account or whatever, because we have a club here in different regions here and stuff, and it only had like 900 followers, and I'm like, oh my, and where they have way more than 900 kids and members within here. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can really help. And I think that's the kind of thing that I want to share with you guys. I'm going to kind of bring this in for Landon because I just want to harp on just a little bit of that, and of kind of where I got to that point. But and then what I'll share in the next video is like, man, like how did things go from there? Even like the experience out in Maui, like what did that teach me? All that stuff. I kind of touched on it a little bit. I didn't really go into depth. And so yeah, I think, just having that confidence in yourself of, okay, I'm in a little bit of a rocky moment in my life right now. I don't know what I want to do career-wise. I don't know how like this is going to be financially. But you know what? I'm passionate. Like I'm passionate about what I want to do. Like I want to go after this. Like I want to shout out my girlfriend Jess. I actually want to shout out two people, and one person is going to be on my podcast, and you guys have probably already heard his name before, but I want to shout out Jess because she's like, and I'm going to have her link to her Etsy for her jewelry. She's really wanted to go after that, and so she finally has gone after it. She bought all the tool, like all the stuff for it. I don't really know the realm or all the stuff that she needed to actually get it, but all the things that you need to make a earring. And she got it. She made all the earrings, stayed up super late, like multiple nights, made the earrings, took photos. Thank you to Mika, and your sister for like, being some of her models and stuff. And like, yeah, like she just went after it. And in 2 days, her first like 2 days of really like, from my knowledge of having the stuff up there, she's gotten 3 orders, and 2 of them like were from people that she has no idea who they are. One's in North Carolina, the other person I think from like Texas or something. And it's just like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud. Like I'm so proud of her, because it's a side thing. Like she's working at Northwestern, medicine, like doing some things I like don't exaggerate. Like, it's kind of complicated what she's doing in the department that she's working, but on the side, she's like, I really want to do this, and she's doing it. She's going after it, and and like Gates, like my boy Gates Mayer, he has. So there's a podcast of him, and I cannot wait to have him back on here to show you guys. Some of you guys know him, so you already know what he's doing right now. But like, he's like, from where he was to where he is now, it is the coolest thing. And I love seeing my friends going from like in times where they were battling and they were, like, I don't like seeing them struggle, but I like seeing them grind through those moments and then coming out successful. And it's just like, man, like, that's so cool. Josiah, like, seeing him, remembering all the long days where he was like, he worked for a year and literally made like nothing. Like, it was, and he'll tell you, like, it was tough for me to watch him as much as he was working to not be really bringing anything in. But he knew he had a goal in mind. He's like, look, I'm going to go after this. And then, like, he even had to change companies. And this just wants me to get him on here so he can share and talk about, his stuff and his journey. But, like, he, like, had to switch and then even moved to St. Louis. He moved from, like, that. Like, those kind of decisions are not easy. Like, those are scary decisions because you're just like, I don't know how this is going to pan out. I don't know what's going to happen with this. I don't even, like, and he's taking his, his wife with him, and like, they had just recently gotten married, and so it's just all these different things where it's like, man, it's scary, but he's killing it. He's doing so good. He's so inspirational. There's so many, and he's not only just killing it in the corporate world, financial world, but he's killing it even spiritually as well. And so I'm just like, man, like, that's what I love to see. I love to see people that like know, that just go after it and have faith and trust in themselves and go after the things that they love. Like, if you're not waking up every day and you're not excited about what you're doing, like, I'm not telling you to like just stop, right? Like I talked about earlier, like, if that's what's putting the food on the table at the moment, then amen. But like, really take a moment to be like, okay, I need to start positioning myself a little bit to where I can actually do something that I want to do, that I love, that I wake up and I'm excited. Like this, what I'm doing right now, this is content creating. This isn't creating content to inspire and motivate you guys. I'm not waking up or staying up till 5. This has been an hour long. Guys, what am I doing? Sorry. Like 5:30 a.m. creating this for nothing, So I'm going to bring this in because I cannot believe this has been almost an hour. My goodness. You guys are troopers if you guys really stayed this long. But love you guys so much. I kind of want to start putting out little snippets of stuff on my Instagram of just like inspiring you guys. So stay tuned for that kind of stuff as well. But you guys are awesome. Love you guys a ton. Put in the description, in the comment section, do you like the blue vibe? Okay? Do you like where it's blue up there? Or do you like when, it's red up there? I don't know. Like, I kind of like both. I kind of like the red vibe, but I'm like, I kind of want to bring a little bit of a different vibe in. So you let me know. You guys are awesome, like I said. Can't wait for the next one. Probably going to record it tomorrow. But yeah, Stavacci out. See you guys.